Yeah.
You have to schedule in when you're going to the gym. You might as well schedule in when you're going to have sex.
And so how do your clients respond to that?
They respond well.
They're happy. Somebody
We
told
have
them
to
to put it in.
deconstruct. Yes, they're
Yeah.
happy that someone said, go have sex.
Go do that, right.
And do this, because
Right.
they're kind of fumbling in the dark a little bit. But also, it's looking, before we even schedule, the opposite of scheduling is spontaneity. And so really deconstructing.
Right.
Is sex a spontaneous event? A few times. Sometimes it is. Is desire even a spontaneous event? Or is
Well,
it...
let's talk a little bit about desire, actually, because I know when if someone's exhausted, sleep is going to take preference over desire usually. And when we don't eat well, when we basically don't take care of ourselves, desire kind of gets to the bottom of the pile there. So do you teach certain life skill behaviors that help keep desire kind of at the top of the priority list?
It's how you define desire. First, you want to back up and understand that desire is here between your ears.
Desire is in the mind.
Especially for women.
Yeah.
And arousal is in the genitals.
Right.
And so when you separate those two concepts, then you look at, okay, I may respond to something and therefore feel desire, but my arousal system is not there. Or my arousal may be high, but I'm stressed out and not there. So sometimes they're not in conjunction.
Okay, well that's really important, the connection.
Connection.
The connection.
And it's okay if they're not connected. So here's how the metaphor I paint with desire, especially with scheduling sex, is that it's like the gym. Sometimes you don't want to go to the gym.
Right, you don't want to go to the gym.
But you drag yourself to the gym because you know it's good for you.
Right.
And you're still there and you're like, oh, the gym. And you get on the treadmill and you're walking. And even then, you may not be into it. Maybe you are. Some people, they get on the treadmill and they're ready. Some people need to walk a mile. Some people need to walk 3 miles. Some people, it doesn't kick in till the very end. And it doesn't matter. That's okay. Where in the process that desire comes in is okay.
Right.
I don't want it to be a high versus low fight. It's just that if you want to make the relationship work, you're both going to have to feed and nourish the plant, which is the relationship.
Right.
And so if your desire is not high to begin with and you have to kind of drag yourself, that's the compromise that helps the relationship, then that's the compromise that helps the relationship. Right. That said, it's understanding that desire is not necessarily a spontaneous event. You have to schedule going to the gym.
Right.
But it helps since so now if we're looking at desire as a responsive event versus spontaneous. We respond to something. And I'm using Rosemary Bassoon's research here just to give her credit. If you respond to a sexual or non-sexual stimuli, you'll be more cognitively motivated to have sex. So the non-sexual stimuli, go clean the dishes.
Right.
Hey, I don't have to think about the dishes anymore when I'm in bed.
Right.
If it does it for you, if you can melt into the moment because the dishes are done,
get the dishes done.
You're present and you're there, and that's and you've given yourself a little bit more encouragement, or the partner has given you encouragement to be sexually motivated. Sometimes it's a sexual stimuli. Sometimes it's a lot of foreplay, especially to break down triggers where there's anxiety. I don't want to be engaged sexually, so I need that relaxation.
Because I don't want to rest that way, or I don't want to have pleasure, or I don't want to, maybe I don't want to let go of my anxiety and my lists that are going. I know women who, they've told me, I have sex and I'm doing the grocery list.
I'm doing the grocery list,
I'm
exactly.
like, wow.
Imagine if the grocery list was already done, especially if the partner did it.
Right.
Then,
so
that's
why
a nice foreplay. I can kind of melt into this moment because it's one less thing to do.
One less thing to do. The endless to do.
And so that's the idea of thinking of desire as a response, either to sexual stimuli, touch, lighting, candles, food,
whatever it is.
Play with
whatever it is, because different for different people.
Or the kitchen being cleaned.
Or the kitchen. I always say, give me a man with a vacuum cleaner. I'm like, yeah. That is exciting. For me. Now, can you talk about the importance of sex? Why it's so important to have sex? Because I think I don't think that's something that is taught, certainly. And I know there's a physiological and a mental
Mm-hmm.
importance to it. So can you address that?
Well, physiologically, there's research done that it releases a lot of endorphins. Oxytocin is one of the hormones that's released, and that's the bonding chemical. And so it's also released during pregnancy, so women bond with their babies. So there's that bonding effect. So in terms of preserving, now we're talking evolutionary biology, in terms of preserving a relationship, especially if there's kin involved, then these hormones released help keep the couple together in order to help child survive.
Sure.
So from that sort of biological, physiological perspective, that pleasure that's woven into the sex is not just for evolution and not just to have a child and procreation, but if there's pleasure with the procreation, then there may be more motivation to invest into the child.
I see. Right.
Now
That's very interesting. From a yeah. And kind of as a corollary to that, so you do want to be careful who you have sex with because you'll probably bond with them in some way. Yeah.
Usually with orgasm, there's that caveat, you know. So there's some cultures where
so pick and choose. Well,
yeah.
thoughtfully.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So from the bonding perspective, and then what about just regenerative?
Right. So it helps you sleep. It induces a state of calm. It burns calories. It helps with the cardiovascular system. I mean, it resets the whole system too.
Right.
You know, when you say the benefits of sex, I don't know if you saw me shudder a little bit. It's not. When you think of sex, I don't want to think of just man-woman intercourse.
Yes.
Sex is so much more than that.
Right.
And so there's sexual activity between different genders, between different kinds of sexual activities, even just kissing. So sex is so much more than just that. So when the benefits of sex are so multiple because it's not just the act of intercourse. So if you're asking about the act of intercourse, I've spoken a little bit to that in terms of
I was talking more about the, being physically intimate.
Okay.
In that way, yeah.
And that's
moving that energy.
Okay.
Yeah, as opposed to eating too much or whatever, supplementing it into other